Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us for our June digital newsletter. We've had a lot of events over the last little while, and happy to report we have no big virtual events coming up. So it's exciting. We're taking the summer off any of the mini conferences. With me, I have Tina Byers. Hi, Tina.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, looking forward to getting some updates with some of these issuers.
Yeah, for sure. I think the most exciting thing that's happened over the last little while is your charity fundraiser ended a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we raised over $100,000 thanks to some of the people on the call today. I know Alex Langer's here as well, who made a donation that helped put us over the top. So yeah, it was a great 10-week event, and we raised a lot of money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada.
And Tina won Woman of the Year.
Yeah.
That was good. We've also had a number of events. We had the Central American Conference. We had an oil and gas session. We had a base metals conference. What else am I missing, Tina? Oh, this young CEO or new CEO event. What else?
Yeah, I think those are the summary of the events. Hopefully, we'll start having a couple of events in person closer to the fall, and we get to see everyone face to face.
Yeah, that'll be good. I'm looking forward to that. I think a lot of people are going to Beaver Creek in person, so should be a good time. And now that we've wasted enough of the intro time, Tina, I guess we've got our first issuer to give us a little bit of an update. So we've got Joe Hamilton, CEO of Unigold. Hopefully he can turn on his camera. We're going reverse alphabetical order today, just to switch it up. Hey, Joe.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you
Good
doing?
afternoon. Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You want to give us a
Good.
little bit of an update on what's going on with Unigold?
Sure, I can do that. I think since our last update, we've put out quite a bit of information into the market. We filed our technical report, the 43101 technical report, which at about 400 pages long is quite a bit of an omnibus. It includes a resource upgrade. It also includes the economic parameters around our oxide project that we have. So that's quite a monumental task. That's what our teams are spending, probably the first 4 or 5 months out of this year looking at. So, now that that's behind us, that's given us the ability now to step out on part 2 of our plan for this year, which we've always indicated from the beginning of the year would be to start moving down the permitting chain for those projects. But in addition to start moving out and looking at some of the regional exploration work that we've been putting aside in favor of trying to do the delineation drilling and the resource estimates and the economic assessment around Candelanes. So now that that's behind us, we're looking forward to the rest of the year where we think we can step out and, as I like to say, cash in some of those lottery tickets that have been sitting on the concession for quite some time. So, it's fun to get back to exploration. Let's put it that way.
And how many meters do you have planned for the fall, and how many drills do you have on site right now?
Well, we have 4 drills on site. I think the easiest way to describe the program is it's contingent on 3 things. The first one is having valid targets that we're willing to go and drill on. Most of the targets we have are drill ready. Most of them will require something around 2,000 to 5,000 meters of drilling. So we've got 3 high priority targets we want to look at. So that's approximately, somewhere between 10 and 15,000 meters of drilling between now and the end of the year. We have 4 drills in country. I'd like to say about 3.5 in reality. 2 of them are quite old. They're about 10 or 12 years old. They've been overhauled a number of times. So really, we've got 3 good operating drills and one that can drill down to about 250 meters below surface. But beyond that, it gets sort of dicey. We'll look to execute that program. I think we'll have to do a little bit more ground geophysics as well. And obviously, we're doing mapping now on some of those targets. So it should be exciting.
It sounds exciting. So are you going to be drilling on the oxides or the sulfides or a combination of both?
Right now, we're waiting for results from the oxide portion. The oxides around the immediate pit where we did the PEA, there are some of that material was in the inferred category. And we put some drill holes into that to try to move it into the measured indicated so we can include it in the feasibility study that we'll do between now and sort of the end of the year. But then we also discovered more oxide about 1.5 kilometers or 2 kilometers to the east of where the main oxide project is, which was a surprise to us. It was started about 2 meters below surface. There was no surface expression of the oxide at all, completely leached at surface. And it was about 15 meters deep, ran some pretty good grades in there, about between 1 gram and 2 grams in oxide. So we're excited about that. We've punched about another 15 drill holes into that area that we're waiting for results from to see if we can expand the oxides there as well, which of course would just enhance. There wouldn't be much capital required to bring that into production. It would just sort of tack on to the end of our existing oxide project. So that's quite exciting. We hope to see those results in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, great. Well, it sounds like you've got some results pending and you're going to keep drilling through the fall.
That's the idea. As long as the drills are turning, I think there's the chance for exploration success. So we'll just keep moving down that path. From this point forward, I think for the next probably the next 6 to 12 months, I think this will be more of an exploration story than a development story. A lot of desktop work to be done, a lot of engineering to be done, but principally our efforts in the field will be back towards exploration.
Great. Well, you had some great exploration results earlier this year, so hopefully we can recreate some of those. And for anyone that's looking for a longer update with Unigold, we are doing a webinar. I believe it's next Wednesday at 2 p.m. So for anyone that would like to hear the full story, please join us there. Thanks so much, Joe.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Tina, Deborah, thank you very much.
Our next presenter is Alex Langer, CEO of Sierra Madre Gold and Silver.
Hey guys, how are ya?
You could give us a little bit of an update on what's going on at Tepic.
Yeah, absolutely. We've actually been really, really busy. I know next time we chat, we do one of these updates. Hopefully we'll have quite a few results, but things are moving forward at a pretty quick rate. We've actually hired 2 more geologists. So sitting now with a team of 11 total, and they're kind of working out mapping, trenching, drilling all at the same time, which is quite exciting. Last week, we announced another new vein discovery called Daunas 2, which is antithetic to Tuunas. These 2 veins are in the eastern portion of the property. The eastern portion hadn't been explored by the previous operators. At surface, it appears these 2 veins are just over 2 kilometers in length. Although they are new discoveries for us, there's been quite a bit of historic mining actually during colonial times. So a really exciting area for us. We have a 2,700 meter drilling program, which is well underway as well. I think we've completed about a dozen trenches so far. Majority of that has been in the central area, but we are planning 400 meters of trenching in Tuunas. But with the addition of Tuunas 2, I expect we'll increase that by a few hundred meters as well. Finally, we are going to complete our 20th drill hole probably this weekend, so just wrapping up that program, which is quite exciting. Turnaround time, it should be about 6 weeks, and we'll release that full drill program, all the results in about 6 weeks' time.
Great. Well, looking forward to seeing those results. And I think we have a webinar planned with you in the next couple of weeks as well. Let me just remind myself what date it is. I think we've got it scheduled for July 7th at 4:15 p.m. Eastern time. So for anyone that's new to the story, Sierra Madre listed earlier this year on the venture under SM. If you want to hear the full pitch, join us then. Thanks for the update, Alex. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. And apologies for the video. I'm sorry.
It happens. And our next presenter is Cesar Gonzalez from Sailfish. Hi, Cesar.
Hi.
Hey, Tina.
How are you?
You get to go before Akiba today, so feel free to steal all his thunder.
I just got a picture from the mine down in Nicaragua. We're shipping out a pretty large shipment. So that's good for both Mako and Sailfish, since we have a 3% NSR equivalent stream on that. And yeah, that's exciting stuff for us. When we put out our financials for Q2, you will be able to see the revenue that Sailfish has been generating from that stream. And it's just another one of the milestones that we were looking forward to this year that we've now achieved. And I want to talk a little bit today about some activity that happened away from the company. So there was a merger announced on Monday between Gold Royalty Corp and Unigold, 2 royalty companies. Gold Royalty just getting going. They did an IPO, raised a bunch of money, and this is their first acquisition out of the gate. I highlight this because I started the year talking about consolidation in the sector. I think there are a lot of small royalty companies, and the name of the game at least if you look back at what's been successful with, Franco and Wheaton, Royal, Sandstorm, Cisco, is to get scale. You want to be able to be included in the indices. Following the announcement of the acquisition between Gold Royalty and Ely, Gold Royalty put out a press release the following day saying that they are now going to be included in the GDXJ, which is a huge, flow of funds, liquidity enhancement. I give those guys credit. They put together a pretty interesting structure, and they're going now. They're off and running. You can see that in their share price. So we're aware of that. We are looking at transactions all the time where we can benefit from scale, diversification. I just wish that some of our peers had a little more sense of urgency about being relevant. And I don't think anybody formed a company to just sit around and fight for scraps. It's there's a path forward, and we're aware of it. We're investors. We want the best for our shares, and that was a really interesting transaction to see announced on Monday.
Well, thanks for highlighting that. There has been a number of transactions that have somewhat of a more direct correspondence to you. I think there was an Cisco one earlier this year where they acquired, what was it, part of Spring Valley?
Yeah, they owned 0.5%. They bought 2.5% from a group out of the UK called Red Kite, mine finance lender. They didn't have an interest in holding these royalties any longer. They'd held them for a while. Cisco got a great deal. That's a comp, so people can use that to value our royalty. But at that price, we would have been buyers if we had the ability to actually buy. That royalty we would have at that price. It was a really good deal, and I think we're better served at Sailfish, kind of waiting for Waterton to do something with Spring Valley. I've said it many times before. It's too important of an asset to just sit around. Waterton knows this. It's a big investment for them. I think it's going to be a big win for them, and I look forward to getting some updates on when that asset is going to be moved forward, whether it's an IPO or it's a sale to a mid-tier or a major. That asset, I think, fits in the portfolios of a lot of companies. Nevada, 5 million ounces of gold. That's a historic number. There's been drilling and feasibility level work done on the project. So I'm curious to see what it looks like today.
See some increased exposure for that asset too. I don't think anyone was really looking at it or valuing it before the Cisco transaction, at least not from a street perspective.
Yeah, no. What's the old saying? Any attention is good attention. That was positive. There's no doubt about it. Just highlights the fact that Cisco royalties are the 4th largest royalty company by market cap. They wanted to consolidate their 0.5%. Now they have 3%. We're the other 3%. Waterton has 1%. This is going to be a royalty that someday might be consolidated. So Cisco's got 3, maybe they want 6, and at those levels, this fits in really nicely with any big platform. Our 3%, the way we look at it, net of tax, today's gold price is capable of generating north of 10 million a year. There aren't too many single royalties out there that can do that. So
it sounds like a pretty impressive royalty. Cesar, one last thing. Do you have an update for us on Gavilanes or the potential spin out of Swordfish?
Yeah, we'll have a press release out in the next few weeks talking about what that transaction is going to look like. We're getting close. We've been working on the 43-101 technical report, which was released for Gavilanes. There's another technical report for an asset that's going to be joined with Gavilanes that's being worked on. We're going through legal documentation, so expect a press release on that over the next few weeks.
Awesome. I'll look forward to that. Thanks for the update, Cesar. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Deb and Tina.
Switching gears a little bit, Cameron, you always get stuck with the mining guys.
No worries. Used to it.
Of Microbix. So lots going on with Microbix as well. Do you want to give us a little bit of an update?
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. I'll touch the high points here of what I'll address in greater detail on the full webinar update we have scheduled for upcoming on Monday at 2. One of the things I'll, of course, have to be commenting on is share price, and we've traded off a little bit recently, probably due to increased supply of shares related to the public offering we undertook this spring for scaling, and perhaps even some perception that we're just a COVID play. And, that couldn't be more wrong. In fact, we're incredibly busy. We're shipping, large quantities of caps and quality assessment products, our test controls, and viral transport medium out. So, as well as superb connectivity across the diagnostics industry, that's in part a result of all the work we've done to help public health respond to COVID, but is so much broader. Presently, I'd say we're of course have a September 30 fiscal year, so we're just in the last few days of our fiscal third quarter ended June 30th, and I'm comfortable saying that is looking to be a record top line and bottom line quarter for us. So continue to be very, very strong, and we're certainly excited about the balance of reporting the balance of fiscal 2021 and the prospects we have going into fiscal 2022, starting October 1, just couldn't be brighter. So this has just been great dedication of all our team and great execution. And you'll in fact see me on SETI as a buyer of additional shares yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. I'll post about that later online today. So your Q3 numbers will be out when, Cameron?
They'll be out the second week of August. Should be out, if memory serves, on the 12th of August is what we're targeting. The Thursday morning, the 12th. So that will, yep.
This will be your third or fourth sequential record quarter. Is that correct?
It's certainly looking that way. Yes. Yeah, it's nice to get the results of all the hard work from everybody starting to show up in the financial statements.
Great. Well, I mean, we could spend a whole hour just talking about all the stuff Microbix is up to, and luckily we can do that on Monday, right?
Absolutely, and one of the nice things, of course, is we're cashed up for the further scaling of the business, which is going to be a lot of work on automation systems to support much higher volumes than we've seen to date, and all of the digitization of our quality management system, batch records, and so forth, and upgrades to ERP to be able to support a much more intense level of business activity than even we've seen so far.
And the new facility that you're constructing, and yeah, it's
absolutely.
Exciting.
I'll see if I can get some sketches. Maybe we can even share on, or a couple of pictures we can share for Monday.
Sounds good. Well, looking forward to the full update.
So next up, we have Ken d'Entremont, who's the CEO of Medexus, which is now listed on the TSX with the ticker MDP. Congratulations on the new listing, Ken. Very exciting, and been a very busy 2 weeks as well. Lots of press coming out.
Yeah, thank you, Tina, and it's good to see you again. The graduation is something we've been working on, as you know. So we're happy that that's behind us, and now we look towards the ultimate target, which has been NASDAQ for us. We're very much becoming a U.S. story. We've got 75% of our revenue coming out of the U.S. We went over $100 million net revenue for the year, as we've been planning to do, and so we're becoming a U.S. story. I think the launch of treosulfan, which will happen soon. With a PDUFA date less than 2 months away now, that's just going to reinforce the fact that we're very much becoming a U.S. story. So, yeah, we're excited about all that. We put the numbers out, I guess it was last week also, and we hit our target. We wanted to be over 100 million for the year. We did that. We have now changed our presentation currency to U.S. dollars, and so I have to get used to telling all the numbers in U.S. figures. And so we're just about $80 million net revenue US. So clearly this year we expect further growth from the portfolio plus the add-on of treosulfan.
And with Triosulfan coming up, you also announced a new medical affairs team. Maybe you can touch on that for a bit.
Yeah, we did. So we're really proud of the caliber of our medical liaison team, medical physician and Keith Stewart, two other very strong individuals who have come from the transplant space. And we are building out the MSL team. I think we have 2 of 6 already hired. All are coming from transplant centers, so deep relationships in some of the key centers in the U.S. And so that clearly helps us significantly as we go to commercialize in this fall.
And the other announcement that the company made was the availability of TH in the U.S. through the drug shortage program.
Yeah, correct. So Trispan in Canada, but triamcinolone and hexacetonide in the U.S. The situation was the same in the U.S. in that it's been subject to a drug shortage for many years. It's the drug of choice for juvenile idiopathic arthritis, basically the type of arthritis that affects children. And this is the longest acting intra-articular corticosteroid. So a very deep need for it to treat these children, but also can be widely used in adults as well. So the good news is that we are supplying it. We've been making our first shipments already. And so kids with JIA have access to the drug they desperately need as we work on the full registration in the US. So that'll be another nice add-on to our US business.
That's great. Well, thanks for the update. Obviously, a lot has been going on, and I think all eyes are going to be on the PDUFA date on August 11th. So looking forward to that.
As are we, believe me.
Thank you.
Next up, we have CEO of Mako Mining, Akiba Leisman. Where are you at, Akiba?
Ithaca, New York. So we're renting a house with the in-laws for the week, but head back to New York on Friday.
Nice. Well, do you want to give us an update on what's going on at site in Nicaragua?
Sure. So last month, May 12th, was really D-Day for Mako, where effectively all parts of the plant were operational, and we started to put the high-grade material through our gravity and CIL circuit. We had a stockpile on the grounds that in aggregate contains over 15,000 ounces of gold. The high grade portion of that was over 8,000 ounces of gold, grading in excess of a half-ounce material. So that is the material that's being processed exclusively, and we're going to do that continuously through probably the 2nd or 3rd week of July, at which time we're actually going to enter into the highest grade and thickest part of the ore body. So really the best and juiciest part of San Albino, an area called Porcelana. When we start to access Porcelana over the course of the next couple of weeks, we're going to be blending that material with some of our historical dump stockpile, which is now in excess of 100,000 tons of material, grading on average close to 3 gram material. Now, given the fact that we've actually turned this on and are effectively in commercial production, we're going to officially declare it on July 1st. We're getting a very good handle on what our costs are. So our mine has been running at, for all intents and purposes, steady state since the beginning of this year. We've been mining close to 300,000 tons of ore and waste with a mining contractor who charges us on an all-in basis, not even on a marginal basis, but on an all-in basis, about $2.60 a ton. So our mining costs are just over $800,000 a month at the steady state that we're in. Now, we're not quite at steady state on the processing side. So we're going to be averaging over 400 tons per day this month. We've had maybe 6 or 7 days in excess of 500 tons, or nameplate capacity over at the plant. But assuming that we were running at 500 continuously, it's clear that our processing costs are going to be coming in lower than $50 a ton, which is substantially lower than what we were modeling going into this thing. And if that's the case, at 500 tons per day, that's another $750,000 per month in operating costs. Now, mine site G&A is less than $300,000 a month, which means if you add up everything, our nut to crack on every single month that we produce is somewhere in the neighborhood of about 1.8 or $1.9 million. That equates at these gold prices to just over 1,000 ounces of production. And we're going to be putting up an operating update probably mid-second week of July about everything that we've done to date from May 12th, our D-Day, through all of June. We'll try to put as much operating data as we can in that release, but it does not take complicated mathematics to compute that we are producing a hell of a lot more than 1,000 ounces a month. This is a very, very profitable mine. Now, this has always been step one of three within Mako's strategy of growth. So the first is now effectively achieved. We're going to officially declare victory on that on July 1st, getting this 500 ton per day open pit mine, which is by far the highest grade open pit mine in the world, up and running. Secondly, we have currently 2 rigs on site that are exploring for near mine extensions of San Albino and our Las Conchitas area. We're going to be sending an additional 3 rigs to Las Conchitas sometime over the course of the next 5 or 6 weeks. And we're going to be rapidly advancing our resource delineation program over at Las Conchitas, such that we can declare a maiden resource on that by first half of next year, and then start mining Las Conchitas at effectively 1,000 tons a day by the very end of next year. We're fully permitted to do that. Most of the kit that we have in the plant with very minor CapEx is going to be easily expandable to that level. And then thirdly, and probably the most important thing about Mako, is that we do think that we're sitting on an orogenic gold mining camp. There's never been a drill hole that's been put outside of the primary San Albino and Las Conchitas area. By late this summer, we're going to start targeting areas as far away from the mine as 4 or 5 kilometers to really put the first drill hole program into these regional targets. We've already released some of the prospecting targets, not even just from grab samples, but on taking samples in situ in the vein from as far away from the mine as 21 kilometers, finding multi-ounce material with reasonable levels of continuity from 21 kilometers to the mine straight back to our resource. So I always frame this is that we have a relatively small resource over at San Albino, but it's only been delineated on about 230 meters of strike. We've extended the strike of the San Albino vein an additional 6.7 kilometers to the northeast. And we're finding additional veins not only over at Las Conchitas, but all the way up north, 20 plus kilometers away from our mine. There's every indication that this is an orogenic gold mining camp. And now that we're in cash flow, we're looking forward to start finding and proving that that is going to be true.
That's great. Well, it's nice to see you execute on your very clear 3 priorities that you've set for yourself. So when you talk about extending the strike length at San Albino, that's into Potreros. I always say it wrong. That's that region?
Yeah, Puerto Rios is directly on strike to San Albino. Really, the only thing that's effectively distinguishing what we have over at San Albino to that is a river. There was a river that cut the 2 pieces together. We acquired that concession from another publicly traded company at the end of 2019. Unfortunately, the drilling permits didn't go with it, so we're in the process right now of renewing them. But even prior to getting the drilling permits on Puerto Rios, we'll be able to drill along strike on the other side of that on a concession that we've owned since 2009. So if we find gold there, and we've already found prospecting gold at the surface, if we find actual drill holes that show down dip continuity, that it is a game changer in terms of what we have. This is not going to be effectively a small target. It really is going to be linking things together that will be of a material size and quantity. And we're really hopeful and optimistic that we're going to be mining at this extended level really for generations to come.
Great. Well, you gave us some really helpful numbers earlier. You're not providing official guidance yet, I don't believe. When do you think that the company would be in a position to start providing production and cash flow guidance? Or is that something?
Right. So this is always one of those situations where we try to avoid pitching and catching. So this was a very accelerated program to get this mine into production. We had to completely redo a resource that our predecessors put together that had substantial flaws associated with it. So the only thing that the company has right now is a resource estimate. There used to be a preliminary economic assessment that was linked to what we consider to be a flawed resource that was put together in 2012 and updated in 2015. So if a company does not have reserves, so a pre-feasibility study or better, they are not allowed to provide guidance. So there are certainly companies that do that, but that is not kosher with respect to Canadian securities rules. Now we counteract that by being truly as transparent as possible. Every single bit of data that we can have from the mine, operating results, things that are happening in real time. Drill holes, we have a full suite of our drill holes with collars on our website. Anybody that wants to do their own personal leapfrog modeling of our resource and how we put this thing together, we welcome it. So we're an open book in that regard, but we take our responsibilities of being a public Canadian company very seriously. So we will not be providing guidance until we actually have a pre-feasibility study out, which we don't anticipate happening until the very end of next year, prior to the commencement of the 1,000-ton per day operation.
Got it. Well, as always, you provide a lot of information. If anyone doesn't follow Akiva on Twitter and they're interested in Mako, they definitely should, because he keeps us very up to date on what's going on. So appreciate that, and nice to see you, Akiva. And we're doing a full webinar. We're actually doing a Sailfish Mako webinar on the 15th, I believe, at 2 p.m. So that should be fun. Get a full update there. You should have your declaration of commercial production and an update out by then, right?
Yes. So it would be immediately prior to that webinar, we will have that press release out, okay, and the declaration of commercial production.
Well, enjoy the rest of your vacation, and we'll see you soon.
Okay. All right. Take care.
I think iFabric is next on the docket. Management isn't able to make it today, but I was just going to give a quick update. They put out an update on their EPA a couple of weeks ago and spoke about the modified guidance of the kill claim for Protex 2. I think it puts the company in a more competitive position in the long run, though it's certainly taken longer than expected to get the advanced claim. In the meantime, officials in the US are lobbying on iFabric's behalf to get the claim approved. They have senators in California who are lobbying for them. So I think that should hopefully move things along a little bit quicker. But regardless, they continue to announce new deals with major brands, most recently Tumi, the luxury luggage brand, and have announced a few deals with major household brands. They also announced the registration of Biotex, which is similar to Protex 2 in its antimicrobial properties, but it's non-metallic. So this opens up a lot of doors for some of the brands who are looking for products that are perceived to be more environmentally friendly. And it also opens up doors for discussions with companies who were interested in using Protex 2, but haven't been able to because of some of the exclusivities that they've signed with certain brands. So overall, they've had a couple of good announcements. And as the stay-at-home orders are lifting, they've seen a recovery in coconut grove orders as well. So I think that's something to look forward to for the next quarter.
Great. Well, thanks for the update, Tina.
Try to keep it short and sweet.
Next up, we have Silas Garrison, CEO of Healthspace. Hi, Silas.
Hey, Deb. How you doing?
I'm good.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
So you put out a CEO update recently and increased your sales pipeline. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's been a really busy year from really just the traction in the sales market perspective. So we actually started the year, Q1 was pretty strong with about 3.8 million in new contracts awards that we announced. And since that time, so since January of this year, we've added over 6.5 million in new possible deals into our sales pipeline. And one of the questions I constantly get asked is just, what is the reliability or the timeline of when this sales pipeline will close out? And so the majority of that sales pipeline, we do project to close sometime in the next 6 to 9 months. But it's a constant refilling factor. So, we have closed over 10 million in sales over the past 12 months. And just in this calendar year alone, adding an additional 6.5 million into that sales pipeline, which now stands at over $22 million in visibility. And these are a lot of people ask, what is a sales pipeline? What is it qualified as? And one of the big things is we're very stringent on what actually makes it into our the number that we present to the markets. That $22 million is customer quoted contracts, meaning that a government agency we have engaged with has actually asked for a quote, which means that they are intending to make a purchase decision at some point in the near future. Near future for government could mean 9 to 12 months, but based upon our intelligence in the market and the conversations we're having, we believe that based upon all the pandemic slowdowns that we've really seen over the past 18 months, and I'll give a figure as to how just buried our government customers were in just a moment. But based on what we're seeing is that the pandemic is lessening its burden. And we believe that a lot of these software implementations in our customer market, their ability to focus on procuring software and implementing it will really start to accelerate in the latter half of this year as we enter into the late summer months and especially into early fall.
Okay, and the 6 to 9 months, you said that's to sign a contract. What are the typical contract lengths that you're looking at?
So we always sign long-term contracts, very little deviation outside of 5 years. So the majority of our contracts are 5-year agreements. So always very long-term sticky agreements that we sign with each of these agencies. And, talk about stickiness, as I've said many times, our customer retention rate over the entire life of the company, which well predates me, we have a 98+% customer retention rate. So very, very little churn in this industry, but especially even more so with our platform and the way that we keep innovating, our customers definitely stay on board.
And you have multiple products to sell into the existing customer base, I understand.
Yeah, that's right. So one of the things that we're most excited about that I just announced, about 4 or 5 weeks ago is what we're calling GovCall, but effectively it is a teleconferencing platform built exclusively for government. Why that matters is because government is in the midst of a paradigm shift, especially accelerated by the pandemic, where they are desirous and in need of offering their services, such as sanitary inspections, on-site visits, things where they actually go in person to verify that a business or a citizen has done things within regulatory code. That in-person site visit, they're usually just doing a visual spot check in a lot of scenarios. And so we can actually enable them through their data management platform, our HS Cloud platform, to actually enable it with a teleconferencing, a video call for instead of having to drive across town. This is actually, we announced GovCall about 6 weeks ago, I think it was, and it's been our fastest to revenue product we've actually ever released. Not too long ago, we also announced that Orange County, California has added it to the contract that we're going through with them, which actually increased their ARR by over $20,000 a year for a 5-year contract. So that represents over $100,000 over 5 years for just that one agency by adding GovCall. So we're really excited about what that means, especially as government is now in a position to go more to telework status that is long going to extend past the pandemic. And once it all dies down, even still, we're kind of in a new age where most everybody understands that being on site, being in person isn't as mandatory or necessary as it used to be. And that's especially true for some of these governmental services for which we supply software for already. They can now supplant the physical driving to collect their information and do it through a video conferencing call.
That's great. Well, I think we're doing a roadshow and it's going to be hosted on GovCall. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah. We're supposed to get that underway. I think Victoria was talking with you about that, but there is an Adelaide GovCall account. So.
Oh, cool. Well, I look forward to seeing it. It's like a more secure kind of Zoom conferencing tool, right?
It is. So it's really web-based and it is more secure because of that. And it kind of cuts down on the barriers to entry. So you don't have to, I know we stream to YouTube here, which GovCall can actually also support, but it also means that no one has to download an external app in order to participate in web conferencing, which is in this day and age is actually really important, especially for our customers, government. They don't want to have to force citizens to download another app just to communicate with them.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think it's really interesting for our health space because you did have certain verticals that benefited during COVID, but it sounds like you're really well positioned to benefit from sort of the end of COVID and reopening. So that's exciting.
We absolutely are. One of the things I'll say at the end of that is, we did enter into the contact tracing realm by allowing government agencies to utilize our platform for contact tracing as the pandemic was hitting. And, initially it did actually generate some revenue. We actually have some recurring revenue that came out of that. But more than that, it also bought a lot of goodwill in the marketplace. And we actually just got an astonishing figure from the state of Hawaii who utilizes still HS Cloud for contact tracing. And they and during the course of the pandemic, utilizing our platform, they told us that we have saved them 5.8 million person hours or man hours. That's how much time they were able to save by utilizing our platform. 5.8 million hours were saved by utilizing our solution. That kind of, use case and story that we're just going to be able to tell to the markets, our customer markets, it would really help continue to fuel the fire. And it's one of the reasons why our sales pipeline continues to swell. And it's only a matter of time before all of that starts to come to fruition and start to close.
Well, that's great. Yeah, no, that's huge cost savings. And dealing with these large institutions and governments, like that's what they want to see, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what they want to see, be able to say that they save time, which directly translates into saving money and providing a better service for the general populace.
Great. Well, thanks for the update, Silas. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Deb.
So Brendan, I think you're going to give us an update on what's going on with drilling, because you're drilling multiple projects right now.
Yeah, we got lots of rigs going. Obviously, drilling Platosa at all times, from underground and from surface, on our Havencio target, which is about the northern part of the Platosa property in Mexico, 11 kilometers away from the mine. Some very interesting stuff there. Making some progress there, and underground drilling at Platosa is always very interesting with the grades that we pull out of there. But I think the new additions to the drilling program are most interesting. First, starting with our Oakley project in southern Idaho, a gold project, currently about 160,000 ounces there at 0.5 gram. But we're collaborating with Centerra Gold on that project. Started drilling there in, I think, late May or so. Program is advancing pretty well, seeing some interesting rock. It's a good place in the world to be drilling. That's an interesting property because it's about 70 kilometers west of Liberty Gold's Black Pine project. And Liberty's been doing a great job there for years now, moving that project towards a resource. So excited to see what they come out with later this year, but very similar kind of geology, an epithermal system overlying a Carlin trend. This is right down on the Utah border, but that Nevada Carlin trend kind of goes into this part of Idaho. So exciting stuff there.
You're running the program there, correct?
We're managing the program, their operator. So it's a pretty collaborative relationship, working out pretty well so far.
So hoping to see results from there in the next couple of weeks?
We'll see. I don't want to make predictions on assays because it was so slow last year. We think it's going to be better this year, but it's going into the lab, so we'll see when we get it back. But it's going well.
And you have another project in Idaho that you're excited about as well, correct?
Yeah, Kilgore is great. It's up in eastern Idaho, and we're working through the permitting process on that right now. It's U.S. Forest Service land, so we're working towards the EA, aiming to have that in September or so of this year and be drilling right after that. But very interesting project. It's about 1 million ounces at 0.5 gram, but we think there's a lot of high-grade potential there as well at depth. We've identified structures at 2 to 3 meters carrying 30 to 60 grams gold, kind of really ripping through every single layer of the stratigraphy down into an area where we've already identified very broad widths of high-grade mineralization, between 3 and 5 and higher grams per ton gold. Really not a lot of drilling done in that area historically, so it's going to be a key area where we focus when we go back drilling there, late September we're targeting.
It sounds exciting.
Yeah, and then Silver City, of course, which is in the background. Yeah, so Silver City, we got the permit to drill this year's program about a month ago or so, or a few weeks ago. So we're just getting ramped up on that program right now. And last year, just ticking the boxes, seeing this big system, seeing great high-grade epithermal silver species, getting good results back. Highlight hole 1.3 meters at 1,000 grams silver equivalent. But really, we drilled 16 holes over 30 kilometers of strike. So a really, really very limited program over that amount of strike. This year, we're going back with 12,000 meters, really focusing on 4 key targets. 2 of them on the old trend, which was mined for hundreds of years and millions of ounces of silver. And then 2 of the targets on this new northern trend we've identified, a mafic schist horizon, which hopefully is even more conducive for larger high-grade deposits than what were mined historically. They might be a little bit deeper, but that's, we're not talking about 1,000 meters down. We were hitting this meter at 1,000 grams silver equivalent at only 100 meters down. So really exciting drill program. We've been kind of waiting for this for months now. And whereas last year's program was test the theory, this year's program is really follow up on those discoveries, put some tonnage and dimension onto them, and really start to move the project forward a lot quicker.
Well, I think it's really exciting. I mean, the scale and potential there is massive. So.
Yeah, well, and we started with 164 square kilometers, and now we're up to 340 square kilometers, right? And expanding the project under the same thesis that there's all kinds of old mines here. They were mined for hundreds of years for high-grade silver, but they've never been drilled. Nobody has ever gone back to drill them. We're the first ones ever to do so. And Saxony is a great place to work. Very supportive communities. The regulator sits in Freiburg, which is right beside the project. We've got the benefit of one of the world's great mining universities there, and a high technology institute for exploration and mining technologies, the Helmholtz Institute. So it's got everything, right? And now it's just about following up on the discoveries and really showing the long-term potential in the area.
Right. Well, you showed excellent growth last year in resource base, and looking forward to seeing more of that through drilling this year. So, yeah, excited. 4 programs, right?
That's it.
All right. I'll see you later, Brendan. Thanks for the update.
Thanks, Deb.
Next up, we have Cole Evans, he's CEO of Enduro Metals, and they are new to us. Well, sort of new. Cole and I met, I guess, a year and a half ago at VRIC. I hosted a panel on the Golden Triangle. I believe the company is called Crystal Lake back then, now Enduro. And Cole's decided to give Adelaide a chance. So I think you're at site right now, correct?
What's that, sorry?
You're at site right now?
I am, yeah. So my connection might not be great, but I'm literally in the site office here right now. Yeah, we just got things rolling here about 2 weeks ago. Starting out with a bunch of camp improvements. We're putting in preparations and things to run our camp later into the winter season so we can handle some ice and snow. Runway upgrades are underway. We're going to double the size of our airstrip here, hopefully within the next few weeks, so we can have larger aircraft. We've already brought in about 70,000 pounds of building and drilling material. So we're on a day-by-day basis before the first drill is going to get turning up here on our Chachi target. Awesome. That's the one. Sorry.
That's okay. I was going to say, Cole.
I'm in a working office here. So
it's okay. I lost Tina. I don't know where she went. But I was going to say, for the benefit of our audience, a lot of them may not be familiar with Enduro, so maybe you could give us a quick overview, and also the location. I kind of referenced Golden Triangle, but maybe you can be a little more specific where you situated.
Yeah, definitely. So Enduro is a junior explorer like I said, we're right in the center of the Golden Triangle. Our project's 654 square kilometers. So I think that might be the single largest junior land holding in the area. I'm the largest shareholder of the company. I've invested about $3 million in cash over the last, like I said, since we'd met and taking over the company and transforming it, so to speak. And we're fortunate to have support of a lot of other really great shareholders. Rob McEwen's our second largest shareholder, along with a lot of other collective group of people who want to find a big discovery, right? A tier 1 deposit. We've come to the middle of elephant country for one reason. That's to find an elephant or 4 or whatever, right? Got to be greedy, but yeah. So our main focus right now, so when we're talking about our Chachi target, that's one a lot of our shareholders are quite excited for. That was a grassroots, I won't use the word discovery quite yet until we got drill holes into it, but let's say we ID'd this. It's a big copper, gold, silver system. Geophysics, all that, showing it's over 2 kilometers in length. Yeah, it's a pretty exciting target. I'll digress into that far too long if I'm left to my own devices. So we'll leave it at that. But that's gonna be our first drill target here for this season. Like I said, the first drill is going to be going here within a matter of days, hopefully. The Golden Triangle this year's had for people who are following the area, it's been a excessive snowpack. It's about 3 times what it would usually be. So that's been a bit of a challenge to start as far as geo-referencing some of our final collar locations. So our shareholders will get an update on that shortly. That's why there's been a bit of a delay with respect to the exact plan. But our first pad we already constructed at the end of last year, so that one will be ready to go. So there won't actually be any delays with respect to our drilling time, which is great. Another target that we're looking at near that area, we had a press release out a week or two ago, is following up on the Havana target, we call it. This is an 1,800 meter long, the geochemistry and geophysics suggest 1,800 meter long, silver, copper, lead, zinc, bit of a mix. We've managed to track where, again, another one that's just totally grassroots, never been tested before. We've managed to track this main vein. It's down in the trees, which is a good thing for the Golden Triangle, easier to access. More difficult thing from an exploration perspective, harder to, of course, find exposure. But we've managed to track that vein now in a second location. We had that out. It ran just under 1,300 grams per ton silver, about 4.5% copper, a few percent lead zinc in there as well. It was about 65 meters away from where we saw it pop out again in the forest. That was about 850 odd grams silver, over 5% copper. So really spectacular grades. All of this is within a few kilometers of our camp. So exploration on it's relatively easy. You get it to you do your first pass. A lot of people, you get concerned in the Golden Triangle with cost from helicopter and things like that. One of the great things, like I said, with this from a locational perspective is you can, when you're up on the mountain, you can see the Galore Creek access road from this site. It's really easy access. You do your first pass of helicopter supported drilling, and okay, all works out. You can permit that to be a skid program, which of course is what everyone wants. It's hard to get here, but is something that this one's definitely set up for. So it just ties on to our target we've talked about with our shareholders before, wanting to be the lowest cost per meter grassroots explorer up here, and we're well set to do it.
So Cole, what makes Enduro unique? What makes you different from other junior explorers?
Great question. I think a lot of things. One is, well, at the end of the day, it comes down to the project, right? Everything's smoke and mirrors. Unless you got good numbers and good results and good project, nothing else really matters. Doesn't matter what you can finance, any of those sorts of things. So I'd say our project and the kind of numbers we put out, you can compare it with anyone. In fact, globally, and I think you'd be hard pressed to find the kind of numbers we're talking about. I mean, one of our later drill targets for this season up at Burgundy, we got a channel trench up there. Again, another target that's a brand new discovery. 37 meters. So this has never been drilled still. It'll be drilled this year and hopefully about 6 weeks from now. 37 meters, 1.3% copper, 1.5 grams per ton gold, 23 grams per ton silver, and 3% zinc. That's within the same sample. Just never been touched. I think you'd be hard pressed to find any company on the planet who can show those kinds of numbers right from surface that hasn't been Swiss cheesed. And we have it, and we have multiple locations with that kind of endowment and blue sky potential. That's why we're here, right? It's been about 2.5 years of doing our homework on here, and it's not a quick process. It hasn't been an easy process, but an important one to stick to that strategy. Tying back to your question of what makes you different, but we stick to a strategy, systematic, empirical way of exploring. And like I said, we're here to find a big deposit. And that's, yeah.
So talking about some of the strategies that you employ, like the baseline work, et cetera, I think that you use technology in a way that's different than some of the other juniors. Can you talk about how you vector in on your drill targets?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we use a lot of, I guess speaks to our younger crowd, relative to the mining industry. Of course, if I was the CEO of a tech company, I'd probably be old by now, but relative to the mining space, we're definitely a newer generation group. We use a lot of different technologies. One of the ones that we're we're quite proud of, and how we have by no means invented it, but found a way to develop it. I think a way that a lot of other people or few people have done is hyperspectroscopy. And essentially what that is the best way to describe it, it's actually a technology mainly used in the defense industry for weapon guidance systems and things like that. So we're of course not looking to blow people up. We're looking for mineral deposits, but you can use the same sort of scientific principles, so to speak, that would guide a missile into its target. We'll replace that with a drill rig and its target for a mineral deposit. And we've managed to develop that actually in the private space with my private company we had prior to Enduro, and we've been fortunate in that's been quite successful for us. So that's just one of the techniques, but we use a lot of drone stuff, skybird systems, so various different types of geophysics. There's a whole array of things I'd be happy to chat about, but like I said, if I get talking, you're not going to end up with time for anybody else. So
we are going to do a full webinar in the next couple of weeks, I hope, so we can drill down into how you drill down in more
absolutely
detail. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on and giving us a little bit of an overview. For people that are new to Enduro, I encourage you to go check out the website and hopefully check out a webinar in a few weeks. Last but not least, we have Pascal Hamlin, CEO of Bonterra, who actually just spent an hour with me yesterday doing a webinar on his updated resource. So maybe give us the quick overview, Pascal, and I'll encourage anyone that wants the full deep dive to check out the webinar from yesterday.
Good afternoon, Deb. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. It's a very good week for us, Bonterra. As you mentioned, we released a resource yesterday, a resource estimate update. Over 3 million ounces total in all categories. Good grade, over 6 gram in the underground resources, and over close to 2.7 grams per ton on the open pit over at Barry. So very good resource, very solid. We had an original resource in 2019, 2.1 million ounces. And after 130,000 meter of drilling, we brought it up from 2.1 to over 3 million. So, and we're continuing to drill. We got 6 to 8 rigs in the field right now. We drill about 10,000 meter per month, and we're continuing to expand the 3 deposit.
That's great. I think you're drilling about 10,000 meters a month. Is that correct?
Yeah, we drilled 10,000 meter on our 3 property, Gladiator, Barry, and Moroy. They're all in the urban Barry camp where we have a mill, an operating mill. So we're drilling close to infrastructure. We have 3 assets, and it's about 4,000 at Glad, 4,000 meter per month at Barry, and 2,000 a month at Moroy.
Great. And with the resource increase, you increased it to just over 3 million ounces, but you also increased the confidence quite greatly within the resource.
That's correct. We did a lot of oriented core drilling in the last 2 years. We picked up solid geology consulting firms to do our resource estimate. We had SLR and peer reviewed by SGS. And on top of that, we used stope optimization process to put a more conservative approach to our resource, which wasn't done in the spring 2019. So increased confidence on the because of stope optimization, confidence because of oriented core drilling 130,000 meter in the last 2 years, and having 2 solid geology consulting firm doing our resource estimate. So the 3 of them makes a pretty solid resource estimate.
Yeah, it's a good foundation. And along with the drilling, what are the other major catalysts this year towards the back half of the year?
Well, right now we started the PEA. The PEA just started early at the end of May. We're planning to have that out. It's going to be based on the resource we just published yesterday, and we're planning to have that out in Q4.
And I believe you have one of the only mills in the region. Is that correct?
That's right, Deb. We have the only mill in the camp. The mill is operational at 800 tons a day. That's going to be too small for all these deposits that we have in the camp. So we're in the permitting process right now to bring that up to 2,400 tons a day. We began that process a few years back, so we're not at the beginning of the permitting process. We're near the end. So that's another very good aspect of Bonterra.
Great. And if anyone's interested in this stope optimization, I didn't really understand it, so I asked Pascal yesterday. So check out the webinar if you want more details about that. And anything we're missing today, Pascal?
Well, we're gonna keep drilling, and we're expanding to the south over at Gladiator and Barry. So stay tuned. We're gonna have drill results in the next few months for sure. We got rigs on the water at Gladiator and to the south at Barry. So it's going to be an interesting summer.
Yeah, for sure. Stock's acting nicely, but you're still super undervalued versus your peer group. So
it's
get a re-rating with all this news and drilling that you're putting out.
Yeah, I believe so too. Like we're like if you look at the value per ounces that we have in our book, we're less than $40, where the peers they're close to $100 an ounce, and the acquisition space in Canada, the recent acquisition, we're all over $180 an ounce. So we're in a good position for new investors. It's a good position to get in.
So Bonterra well positioned, like the Canadians, right?
Oh yes.
And Jersey also well positioned. What do you think?
I think it's going to be over tonight.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. Well, thanks for taking the time. I'm going to make you stay on camera so I'm not talking to myself because Tina ditched me partway through. But yeah, thanks for the update. Thanks for everyone for participating. Looking forward to seeing some drill results out of Bonterra, and yeah, see everyone next month on the digital newsletter.